on Saturday, UFC 197 in Vegas. Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. He joins me now with a look at the card and, of course, his fight coming up on Saturday night. Demetrious, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
You got it. And obviously, one of the things I think we talked about before you came on is if I wanted to ask you right off the bat, if I was to say the best fighter in the UFC today, your answer would be who?
How about I say John Jones, man? John Jones is legit.
You wouldn't say yourself because some people would say you might be the best fighter in UFC today.
Yeah, but I don't like to, throw myself in that category.
Well, that's what a lot of people think. Demetrious Johnson here, 23-2. You are trying to break a record for most consecutive title defenses, and that is something that you probably take a lot of pride in.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I'll be dope. Put my name in that hat for being the most consecutive title defenses and the first only ever flyweight champion in the world. So that's my goal, and I'm working on it.
When you look back at people, this is a very brutal sport. I always like to try to get into the guy's head, especially a guy like you who people say you're a good guy, nice guy. How do you end up in a sport like this? What is your path to where you are going Saturday night?
I always like to compete, and this is, me trying to pay my bills and take care of my family.
Where does it start for you, though? How did you get into? I mean, where did you start deciding? You know what? I want to get into combat sports. I want to get into something where I fight for a living. I find it fascinating.
Well, it was Ultimate Fighter, to be honest with you. I started training when I saw the show, and I was like, oh man, I think I'd like to try that. Just to working out part, learning the martial arts. And then next thing you know, I found a gym, AMC Pancreation in Kirkland, Washington. And then next thing you know, one thing led to another, and here I am today. I'm about to defend my title for the 8th time.
Yes, he is, and you'll do that on Saturday night. And, of course, UFC 197, you mentioned John Jones. He is a part of that as well. You said that you think that he might be the best fighter in the world. What to you excites you about him and that you would say that he's the best fighter in the world? Obviously, people want to possibly buy this card for Saturday night with you on it, and he's on it as well. What is it about him that you are excited about?
Just his all-around game. He can do it all. He can grapple, wrestle, strike. It's very hard to find a guy who can do it all like I can. So I got a lot of respect for John Jones, and I'm excited to see him perform this Saturday.
Yeah, and, a lot of things happened this week. We saw, we know the card's coming up. There's been a lot of talk about this card and, of course, cards down the road here because of things that happened a couple of weeks or a month or so ago. We had the McGregor stuff the other day. He retires. He doesn't retire. Is that kind of stuff good for you guys? As a guy in this organization, do you like that kind of attention?
It's obviously getting the headlines. Everything's all on the front page on the news about McGregor, this and that. So it's good. I guess good news is always good press is always bad, or good press is always good press.
It's another interesting thing, too, because for a while there, some people, casual fight fans might say that Ronda Rousey was the most recognizable or biggest star in the sport. Is she good or bad for your sport?
I would never say anybody's bad for a sport, so I would assume she is good for the sport of mixed martial arts. She's out doing her thing, becoming an actor, and she's building her brand, not by just fighting. She's doing other things, too. We all can't fight forever, so, one thing is your body's going to give out eventually, so you got to find something else to do.
No doubt.
And,
who do you right now is the biggest star in your sport? Who is the guy, if our listeners, only knew Rousey, McGregor, Nate Diaz, John Jones, yourself, if you were to say you got to watch one card and this guy's got to be on it?
I'll say John Jones, me, Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo. The list can go on forever.
Part of what makes the UFC pretty big right now. It is obviously 197 on Saturday. From what I understand now, outside of the UFC, Demetrious, you're a big gamer. So is that like life after UFC, or you do that all the time? What is your game?
Right now, I'm playing Dark Souls 3 Division and Street Fighter 5. But yeah, if the goal works out that way, I'll do it.
Yeah. Now I see like ESPN is getting into where they're actually airing. You can watch people play video games. I mean, is that something? Are you on that level where you are like in competitive gaming?
Yep, it's on Twitch. I might like super competitive gaming, like going to esports and competitions, but I love playing video games.
Crazy how the world has evolved so much, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you, a couple of years ago, you're in this spot now where you said you are chasing the UFC record for the most title defenses. Is that a spot where when you could envision yourself getting to, or as it has been a whirl? I would assume that your lifestyle is a whirlwind.
Yeah, it's a whirlwind, but at the same time, I have 2 kids and a beautiful wife, so it almost kind of lets me relax and just
Saturday night. Tell us a little bit about your opponent here, and of course, you guys both have some interesting backgrounds here. So, give the listeners a little insight on Henry.
Yeah, Conor. Not Conor. Everybody's talking about Conor McGregor, so I keep on throwing his name out there. Henry Silva. He's undefeated in mixed martial arts. He's a gold medalist in Olympic wrestling, and I'm looking forward to getting there fighting him.
That is, of course, Saturday night, UFC 197. Demetrious Johnson, 23-2, 9 in a row. He's going to extend, at least try to extend, the UFC record for most title Mighty Mouse. 125 at the flyweight division. That is Saturday night in Vegas. Demetrious Johnson here on 97.3 ESPN. He's at Mighty Mouse UFC on Twitter.